Hello everyone, I hope you're well and your week has been good. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the new Raven Guard Combat Patrol. Now it is the first time that I'm taking a look at it, so it is a hot take, so we'll be learning it together. So without further ado, let's dive on in. So Combat Patrol Shadow Claw Kevarak. Army ability is Oath of Moment. I believe that this is the same with all Space Marine combat patrols. At the start of your command phase, select one unit from your opponent's army until the start of your next command phase, and that enemy unit is your Oath of Moment target. Each time a model with this ability makes an attack that targets your Oath of Moment target, you can re-roll the hit roll. So this is effectively making your hit roll both in the shooting phase and the fight phase more effective. I think statistically the end result is similar to essentially if you had +1 to the hit. Also it's applicable to Overwatch, so if you were able to preempt one of your opponent's units being a threat, and then if in their turn if they moved out to do whatever, then if you decided to overwatch them, you'd get the re-roll to the hit roll on the overwatch. Enhancements. The default is Deadly Duelist. Melee weapons equipped by the bearer have the lethal hits ability, so this only is applicable to the bearer's melee weapons, and it will be useful when you have weaker weapons going into tougher targets, because if you have got a weaker weapon going into a tougher target, generally you will be wounding on 5s, so there's a lesser chance of you being successful in that wound step. So if you have any ability that lets you skip that automatically, it will help you greatly. The optional enhancement, Area Denial. At the end of your command phase, the bearer's unit is within range of an objective marker you control. That objective marker remains under your control even if you have no models within range of it until your opponent controls it at the start or end of any turn. So this is more commonly referred to as sticky, which, if I remember correctly, in the wider game it tends to happen at the end of any phase, but in this circumstance it specifies that it's at the end of your command phase. So where this would be useful is in two circumstances, and you just need to take this into consideration, is if you would deploy a unit with this ability on your home field objective at the beginning of the battle, then at the end of your command phase in your turn 1 you would sticky it, so it then gives you the ability to get up and get moving with that unit. However, if you did move onto an objective during your turn, you would have to survive your opponent's turn to then sticky it at the end of your subsequent command phase. So that's just something to take into consideration there. If you're moving a unit onto an objective with the intention to stick it, are they durable enough to take your opponent's shooting and fighting in their next turn? Secondary objectives. The default is Concentrated Wrath. You score 2 VP each time a model from your army destroys an enemy unit. If that unit was your Oath of Moment target, you score 3 VP. So I would personally take this secondary if I knew that the army that I was facing was predominantly weaker than my weapons, because I'm confident that I will most likely achieve this frequently so that I can gather up those victory points as I go along. Whereas if I'm playing an army which is tougher than what my weapon strength is in the army in general, then I probably wouldn't take that, as it's not as guaranteed. The optional secondary is clandestine infiltration, and that is at the end of the battle you score 10 VP if you control the objective marker closest to your opponent's battlefield edge. So this may be helpful in those circumstances where you are playing an army which is tougher than yours, or tougher than the strength of your weapons, because instead of relying on that pure killing power, you then have to switch up your game and actually think about playing smart and prioritising the point scoring. Moving on to the stratagems, the first is Stranglehold for 1 CP, and that is in the command phase. 1 Adeptus Astarte unit from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, add 1 to the objective control characteristic of models in your unit. So this is very interesting because it states the command phase, not your command phase, which means that you could use this in your opponent's turn. So if they are on an objective that they are out OCing you on, you could use this in their command phase and potentially out OC them, and in the process of doing so, denying them scoring primary. The second strat is From the Shadows for 1 CP. In your shooting phase or the fight phase, 1 Adeptus Astarte unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, improve the armour penetration characteristic of weapons equipped by models in your unit by 1, and those weapons have the anti-monster 4+ and anti-vehicle 4+ ability. This is actually a very good strat, begging your pardon, in my opinion. 1 CP just to improve your armor penetration by 1 is good, let alone getting anti-monster and vehicle on top of that as well. I know we mentioned it in the previous video where we looked at the Imperial Fist Combat Patrol. In this edition of 40k, 10th edition, there is a lot of terrain, so anything that helps you circumnavigate the benefit of getting cover on those terrain pieces, such as ignores cover or just improving your AP, is very helpful. Third and final strat, Force Their Hand for 1 CP. Your opponent's movement phase, just after an enemy unit ends a normal advance or fallback move, target 1 Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that is within 9 inches of that enemy unit that just ended that move and is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Your unit can make a normal move of up to D6 inches or a normal move of up to 6 inches instead if it is a Phobos unit. So this will be very useful when it comes to facing combat armies. Effectively what you could do is almost bait your opponent. So if you have a fairly sacrificial unit that you would like to go out into no man's land and start to secure an objective or score a secondary, if your opponent then had a unit that came within a certain distance, i.e. 9 inches of them, you could bait them with that unit to draw one of their units out, spend this command point to move your unit away, improve the chance of them failing their charge, and then in your subsequent turn move, shoot or charge and fight them. So yeah, very good. One thing I just wanted to clarify, going back to From the Shadows, it states in your shooting phase or the fight phase, so it's applicable in both fight phases but just your shooting phase, so that's something to note there. Okay, so moving on to the first unit, Captain Cavarax, who is the Warlord. He is movement 12, T4, 3+ save, 4+ invulnerable save, 5 wounds, 6+ leadership and 1 OC. He's equipped with a heavy bolt pistol, which has the pistol keyword, range 18, 1 attack, ballistic skill 2+, strength 4, -1 AP and 1 damage. So this weapon is predominantly good into light infantry, and when we talk about light infantry we're referring to something that has a similar stat line to something like toughness 3, 4+ save and 1 wound. So something like a termagant or anything along those lines. A big indicator as to what a weapon is good in is the damage profile here, which we can see is 1. He's also equipped with a relic weapon which has 6 attacks, weapon skill 2+, strength 5, AP -2, 2 damage. So this profile would be good into something like your normal marine, something which is T4, 3+ save and 2 wounds. Again, we can see that here from the damage characteristic. That's quite a big indicator as to what it's good in. He also has his own ability, which is Angel's Wrath. Each time this unit ends a charge move until the end of the turn, add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit. So a key thing to note here is that it says unit, so this is applicable to a unit. If he is leading a unit, they will benefit from this as well. And again, it's good. His melee weapons will be going up to strength 6, so he'll be wounding anything which is a 3+ or less on 2s. But going up to 6 also, he might well start punching into Terminators just due to the sheer volume of attacks he has, which will become more efficient if you combine it with something like Oath of Moment. And he also has the Deep Strike ability, and he can lead assault intercessors with jump hacks, which is what we're coming on to next. So the assault intercessors with jump hacks, movement 12, T4, 3+ save, 2 wounds, 6+ leadership and 1 OC. This unit consists of 1 sergeant and 4 assault intercessors. The sergeant is equipped with a heavy bolt pistol, which has a similar characteristics to the captain's heavy bolt pistol. However, it is only range 12 and it hits on 3s as opposed to 2s. So again, good into light infantry. The other intercessors are also equipped with a heavy bolt pistol. The sergeant is equipped with a power weapon, which is 4 attacks at weapon skill 3+, strength 5, AP -2 and 1 damage, and the rest of the squad is equipped with a Astartes chainsword, which are 4 attacks, weapon skill 3+, strength 4, AP -1 and 1 damage. So again, this squad is very good into light infantry. They also have their own ability, which is Hammer of Wrath. Each time this unit ends a charge move, select 1 enemy unit within engagement range of it, then roll 1d6 for each model in this unit that is within engagement range of that enemy unit. For each 4+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So pretty good if you are having this unit led by the captain. I'd probably say on average you're going to be getting 6 mortal wounds, so that's 3 dead 1 wound models, or 1 dead 2 wound model and another one put on 1 wound. So yeah, pretty good. It would be interesting to see if you did run them with the captain and combined all of this when they charge a unit with the From the Shadows stratagem, with the anti-monster and anti-vehicle 4+ and an extra AP. It would be interesting to see how many wounds would go through to a vehicle just because of the sheer volume of attacks. Might have a little bit of homework to try and see what's the toughest vehicle in Combat Patrol, and see on average how many attacks can go through and wound that vehicle with that combination. So moving on to the next. Oh, and just to clarify, both of them have deep strike, which is useful because they can go in strategic reserve in Combat Patrol because of that. So going on to the next unit, which is the Infiltrator Squad. Movement 6, T4, 3+ save, 2 wounds, 6+ leadership and 1 OC. So pretty much the basic Space Marine stat line. That consists of 1 sergeant and 9 infiltrators. All of them are armed with bolt pistols, which are the pistol keyword. Range 12, 1 attack, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1. Just check to see what the difference is between that and the heavy bolt pistol. Looks like it's just the heavy bolt pistol gets the pip of AP, whereas the bolt pistol in itself doesn't. They also have the Marksman Bolt Carbine, which has the heavy keyword at 24-inch range, 2 attacks, ballistic skill 3+ or 2+ if you remain stationary, strength 4, AP -0 and 1 damage. And then finally they all have a close combat weapon, which is 3 attacks, weapon skill 3+, strength 4, AP -0, 1 damage. So they might be struggling a little bit there with the lack of AP, but again, if you combine that with From the Shadows, just for the benefit of getting 1 AP, you could soon bump that up a bit and they would be good into light infantry. They have their own ability, which is Omni Scramblers. Enemy units that are set up on the battlefield from reserves cannot be set up within 12 inches of this unit. So this is pretty good, especially considering that Combat Patrol boards are 44 by 30, so you'll be screening out a good section of the board. They do have the Infiltrators keyword, which is good. One thing just to note is that it does specify with the Omni Scramblers that it is an enemy unit that is set up on the battlefield from reserves. I know that one tactic that was being used in the wider game was this unit was being set up 9 inches away from the enemy deployment zone, because that is how close you can deploy to enemy deployment zone, and it was generally a unit cannot be set up 12 inches within this unit. So what effectively was happening was you were pushing your opponent 3 inches further into their own deployment zone because of this ability. But I can see here that they've specifically mentioned units coming in from reserve, which is good. They also have the Patrol Squad ability, which is at the start of the Declare Battle Formation step. This unit can be split into 2 units, each containing 5 models. So yeah, this is very good, combining it with that ability of Omni Scramblers, because you can separate them into 2 units and screen off a wider part of the board. So if your opponent does have anything in deep strike, yeah, they're going to struggle to bring these in if any of these guys are near them. One thing to note with infiltrators, and probably with this Combat Patrol in particular, is you just need to be careful about being too aggressive with your infiltrators if you are playing against a combat army, such as World Eaters, because essentially what you don't want to do is make it easier for your opponent to move further up the field by deploying further up the field yourself, and ultimately enabling them to do what they want to do, and that is get up the field as soon as possible and start charging things. I know we have the stratagem force their hand, of which this unit is a Phobos unit, so they just would be able to move 6 inches. However, remember, we can only use that stratagem on 1 unit, so if you do patrol squads this unit, just be wary that you can only cover 1 with that strat, so just bear that in mind. Moving on to the final unit, the Invicta Tactical Warsuit, is movement 8, toughness 8, 3+ save, 12 wounds, 6+ leadership and 4 OC. And it is equipped with a Frag Storm grenade launcher, which has the blast keyword, 18-inch range, D6 attacks, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage, so good into light infantry. We have the heavy bolter, which has sustained hits 1, range of 36 inches, 3 attacks, ballistic skill 3+, strength 5, AP -1 and 2 damage, so good into marines. The twin iron hail autocannon is twin linked, so this could be a very efficient weapon, combining it with Oath of Moment, so you're getting the reroll, the hit roll because of that, and also reroll the wound roll because of the twin links. Very efficient. That is at 48 inches, 3 attacks, ballistic skill 3+, strength 9, AP -1, 3 damage. So this is actually good into Terminators, and what's good is that you could also combine this, like I said, not only with Oath of Moment but from the shadows, to make this weapon AP -2, and you're putting a Terminator from its 2+ save to its 4+ invulnerable save, and every one of those that it fails, appreciate that it's only 3, but every one that does go through, it will kill a Terminator, which is very good. The twin iron hail heavy stabber is rapid fire 3, twin linked also, range 36, 3 attacks, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage, so again good into light infantry. Then finally, its melee weapon, it has the Invicta Fist, which is 5 attacks, weapon skill 3+, strength 14, AP -2, 3 damage. So this is again very good into Terminators. If you shot your twin iron hail autocannon and then charged the Terminators with your Invicta Fists, combining it with Oath of Moment and the strap for extra AP, yeah, that would hurt. But also this is going into vehicles. Strength 14 is very good for going into vehicles, so just be mindful of that. It also has the Scout 8 ability, so you can get it up the field even further if you want. So yeah, this is pretty good. That is all the units in this combat patrol. How would I play it? So I think if I was playing a army that was mostly weaker than the strength of my weapons, I think what I would probably do is go with the area denial enhancement on the captain, obviously, attach him to the unit of assault intercessors, start them on my home field objective in my deployment zone straight away, so they can sticky that from turn 1, then move up the field as soon as possible with their good movement characteristic of 12 inches. I would probably split the infiltrator squad and use the patrol squad ability just to give more units for my opponent to think of. Start one of them aggressively, and then in the back of my mind have the force their hand strat in the back of my mind just as like a backup plan in case I am charged. That is if I'm facing a combat army. If I'm facing a shooting army, depending on the terrain and the shooting angles, I may well be aggressive with both of them. And with the Invicta Tactical Warsuit, what I certainly would do, again it depends on the terrain layout, is I would want to have either the Invicta Tactical Warsuit or the big brick of Captain Corax and the Assault Intercessor with jump packs, either one of those two, to act as like a backup for the infiltrator squad, which would use force of their hand to fall back if need be. So essentially I'm pulling back with the infiltrators, but then I'm countering with either the warsuit or that big brick block of jump pack intercessors with the captain. Yeah, I think that's what I would do if I was facing an army that was predominantly weaker than mine, and that I would be confident that I could kill, because I would also take the default secondary objective, Concentrated Wrath, because I'd be confident that I'd consistently be scoring those victory points. When I would go into units, again taking into consideration the From the Shadows strat, that'd be really helpful. Just make the chances of me killing those units more likely. Stranglehold as well. I think Stranglehold, I think you're probably going to use this a lot, because every single unit apart from the warsuit has only got one OC, so I think when it comes to objective control, this is a potential weakness of this army, but that strat will help you with that. I could actually see you using all of these strats, which is good, but you're just going to have to manage your CP a lot better than the average combat patrol. If I was playing into a tougher army, say something like Custodes, I think the temptation is there to take lethal hits because of what we spoke about at the beginning, skipping that wound step. But I feel like the way that I would play my army if I was playing something like Custodes is that I would still stick to the area denial enhancement, because sticky objective is just really useful all of the time, rather than lethals being good as and when, just in my opinion that is. I would probably take the optional secondary objective, Clandestine Infiltration. At the end of the battle you score 10 VP if you control the objective marker closest to your opponent's battlefield, because I wouldn't be confident that I'm going to consistently score Concentrated Wrath. And the way in which that I would try to achieve this is I don't know if I would necessarily team Captain Corax up with the Assault Intercessors with jump hacks or not, but essentially I would definitely start with at least him, the captain, in reserve by himself, hoping that the Custodes would have to come forward, and because there are so few of them, that they would leave the objective in their home field, for him then just to come in one of my reinforcement step, utilise his deep strike ability, and just hopefully stay on their objective until the end of the battle. Yeah, again, something to think of, whether I'd take him by himself or put him with the assault intercessors with jump hacks and put them both as a unit in deep strike. Let me know what you guys think on that. Yeah, and as I mentioned, I'd probably play the infiltrators in the same way. Maybe just put one in the midfield and have the force their hand strat as just a backup plan in case it does get charged by any custodes, and then most likely the Invicta Tactical Warsuit would be the unit behind to sort of counterpunch it, so to say. So yeah, a couple of points there which I think would be interesting to look at. Like we literally just mentioned, if we were playing a tougher army, would we put the captain with the jump hack intercessors as a unit together in strat reserve to deep strike them, or whether we would just have the captain in by himself? There's something to think of. And also it'd be very interesting to work out how much damage this unit can do as like a blob squad going into a vehicle and using this strat. If you guys do know off the top of your head, let me know and put it down in the comment section below. But I mentioned before, I think that this combat patrol may slightly suffer with objective control. I know that you have got the strat to improve your OC by 1, but I think the other strats are just as useful and will be used just as much, so you're going to have to be really careful with your CP management. Yeah, in a mirror match against something like Marines, I'm not too sure how this would do. You have got a couple of damage 2 weapons in there, so I think it would be okay. So overall, I think it's an okay combat patrol. Just through first impression, as I said, this is the first time I'm looking at this without actually playing it. I think that the Imperial Fist one is the stronger one, in my personal opinion, but who knows? You have to play it a few times against different armies, stress test it, and see ultimately how it performs. So if you did stay to this point of the video, thank you very much for your time. If you would like to support the channel, please consider subscribing, and if you like this video, please like it, and like I said, feel free to leave a comment section below, and let's try and figure out how we can best utilise this combat patrol against different armies. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.